Let's get into a bit of indigenous place naming, cosmology and mythology. We are of course going to use the word indigenous because it means in Latin sprung from the land, where the word aboriginal means not original, as seen by the prefix abstract, abnormal, so on and so forth. So where am I sitting right now? Just a little bit north of Bloodlight the Flying Fox, a little bit northeast of Yandina to go on foot. I'm sitting in Mount Ninderry, meaning the place of leeches. And I used to think that's quite a strange name for such a beautiful location. Then I recalled that leeches are used in original medicine for bloodletting, for getting rid of toxic blood. So perhaps down by the waterfall there was a bit of a healing space. This Mount Ninderry is part of a beautiful chain of mountains. We've got Iwa, the Blackadder, Kuroi, the Possum, Kuroa, Pinbarren. All places have their special names. We've given them mostly animal names, but it's symbolic. Working with symbology allows a whole mass amount of meaning to come underneath that one umbrella. The flaw of reductionism and specifically identifying things, it just means that one thing. It's much more efficient to work with symbols. For example, in Taoism, you say the word yellow. It can invoke the idea of physiological processes, diet, emotional and mental states, and also the environment and agricultural practice. Working in an adaptive complex system under symbology allows things to move in a bit more of a in tune, responsive, harmonious kind of fashion. Take, for example, the Incan culture. Prior to that giant culture forming, there was just individual tribes existing along South America. They were all warring over a variety of things. The astronomers, the seers, astrologers, they could see with the precession of the ages that those people's time was going to come towards an end. So I thought, if we all unite to become one giant culture, working harmoniously, we'll mirror the cosmos and perhaps we can prevent the decline of our people. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but the principle was beautiful. As above, so below, let's work together. Working with the gods and the stars. So, Mount Ninderry, part of the Gubbi Gubbi peoples, it's the language spoken. Nearby is the Jinnabara. The specific tribe in this area is the Dalla. Moving down into the flats is the Nalbo, and along the coast is the Undabi. So these people would have been working with different trade routes, different deals going on, working together, interacting. Maybe here there's more access to certain types of wallaby. Down on the flats there's more emus. Along the coast, obviously we've got the fish. So looking directly east of us is Mount Coolum. Very beautiful and significant feature of the Sunshine Coast. It is a giant monolith, one giant piece of rock, said to be the second largest monolith in Australia after Uluru. If that's true, I've got no idea, but that's what some people claim. It is a locholith. It was a bulb of magma boiling up underneath a huge amount of sandstone 25-ish million years ago in the tertiary period. Over those millions of years, all the sandstone erodes away and we're left with that giant special rock there. Over the ages, over the millennia, depending on glacial epochs, whether the glaciers lock up a whole bunch of seawater or whether they're melting and the climate is warming, releasing the seawater, the coastline has been anywhere from 40 kilometers further east up to 3 meters high to where it currently is, flooding this whole section in here, effectively making Coolum an island. And that's what gives it all its special plant species existing endemic just to that one location. Coolum is sitting just to the south of Peregian, meaning emu, which is just to the south of Noosa, or Nuthra, meaning the place of shade or the place of ghosts. To the south of Coolum is Majimba, meaning the place of Ostromotus dulcis, the midgem plant with the little delicious white berries. Off the coast of Majimba Island, or Old Woman Island as it's called, which is reference to an indigenous dreamtime story of two women walking from Yurrin or Bribie Island. They walked up the coast, floated on a bunya pine across to the island. They called the island Coolum, which means moon, and they existed there for the rest of their time. People only ever saw one woman at a time though, that's why they call it Old Woman Island. However, in the story there's actually two women. To the south you get to Maroochydore. Maroochydore meaning black swan, and Maroochy meaning the red beak of the black swan. So the story that we are interested in today is the Dreamtime battle between Ninderry and Coolum, the two warriors. Coolum was married to Maroochy. It was an approved wedding by the elders. Ninderry came along one day, stole Maroochy and brought her out here. Coolum found out while Ninderry's sleeping, stole his wife back. Ninderry wasn't very happy, went and decapitated Coolum. Maroochy ran off. Biral, the creator spirit, saw what Ninderry done. Seeing that he broke the law, he struck Ninderry and killed him. Maroochy, grief-stricken, cried and cried and cried. Her tears run down Blackhall Range, formed the river systems moving through here, and transformed herself into that black swan, flying up and down, searching for her beloved husband. Her husband had, of course, died, turned into stone, and became Mount Coolum. His head, when it was decapitated, landed, and that is Killen, or Old Woman Island. Ninderry became Mount Ninderry. So this is a fascinating story. Problem with Dreamtime stories is there's levels of initiation, certain processes you go through to work out what each part of the story is representative of. There's of course much more depth than just the obvious morality of don't go around stealing people's wives, and if you do, God's gonna punish you. Here's the story looking into deep time. This story of the water coming in and then going back out, is that somehow representative of hundreds of thousands of years of the process of the changing of the sea levels, and that's documented in one simple parable? Potentially. Was there people around for that long? Or was it through shamanic practice, through seeing, through the use of Acacia medenii root bark and maybe some beta-carboline plant that exists around here we're not aware of? There's access to those alkaloids. You can see deeper into time and see that whole process compressed through ritualistic dance, song, initiations. You can understand this. Is there some other meaning which we're able to find out? I'm not sure. I'll never know. I'm not an initiate. And there's also the language barrier. There's the time dilution, all the rest of it. If you want to know the story in more detail, check it out online. It's there for you to read. You can make your interpretations and come here, make your assessments, think about it. For me, I feel like the story has multiple layers, of course, but one component which I'd like to share with you is these three locations, Mount Ninderry, Coolum, and Killen, or Majimba Island, is part of a solar calendar. So through the winter solstice and the summer solstice, you've got the sun tracking up and down the coast. When you're sitting in the right location, you get quite a beautiful bit of astronomical trigonometry occurring. Can't sit there right now because it's all landlocked by fancy houses, so we'll go through it on Google Earth. From this location, on the spring equinox, when it's equal day, equal night, the sun ascends directly over the top of Mount Coolum. That is as if the head is coming off. Through the months, as we get towards December into the summer solstice, the sun is at its most southern azimuth, meaning the perceived horizontal angle in which the sun is ascending from this location. The sun ascends directly over the top of Killen, Old Woman Island. With the winter solstice, from that location, you spin around towards the west with those short days with the sun low in the sky. The sun appears to come and crash directly into the crest of Mount Ninderry. So is there a component of this story that is used as a calendar? Most, if not all, cultures around the world had their rocks, temples, stones used for tracking time. using this astronomical observatory located just to the south of here, we do get a beautiful effect occurring with the movement of the sun. I don't see why there seems to be that coincidence existing without it being deliberate. Anywho, thank you very much for listening to this presentation. If you've got a Dreamtime story or an interpretation of anything of this area, please share it, and thank you for listening.